Before we blame aliens, listen to one ordinary English phrase. A ship went missing, and the world reached for a myth. But the real story is scarier, because it sounds like work. The video that inspired this episode is called Lost in the Bermuda Triangle, but the case at its center is the cargo ship El Faro. It was not a ghost ship in an old legend. Today, we are using a disaster story as an English lesson, not because tragedy is entertainment, but because real situations create real language. You will hear phrases native speakers use when a plan breaks down. If someone says a ship went missing, they are not saying it exploded, sank, or was stolen. They are saying one thing for sure. The ship was expected somewhere, and it did not arrive. Chinese learners often jump straight to disappear. Disappear is fine, but go missing feels more like a developing situation. It sounds like phones are ringing, radar screens are checked, and somebody is still hoping. El Faro left Jacksonville, Florida, bound for San Juan, Puerto Rico, in late September 2015. That route was ordinary for the ship. The dangerous part was not the triangle shape on a map. A ship can leave a port, but sailors also say it cast off. The phrase comes from releasing the lines that hold a vessel to the dock. It feels physical, like the story has actually begun. Far away, Tropical Storm Joaquin was strengthening near the Bahamas. Forecasts changed, the storm shifted, and timing mattered. This is where English gives us a useful phrase, the latest information. Latest does not just mean new, it means the newest available right now, the version you should trust before you make a decision. In a storm, old information can look calm, while reality has already changed. Joaquin became a hurricane, then a major hurricane. The name sounds almost gentle when spoken slowly. But names do not measure danger. Wind, waves, and position do. This is the first trap in many disaster stories. People imagine danger as a fixed object. Real danger moves, grows, weakens, turns, and forces you to update the plan. If a ship is in the path of a hurricane, the hurricane is moving toward the ship's route. It does not mean the storm has already hit. It means the future is closing in. Native speakers use path for storms, careers, laws, and bad decisions. You can be in the path of a hurricane. You can also be on the path to burnout, debt, or a mistake everyone can see coming. Investigators later noted that alternate routes existed. That does not mean every choice was simple. At sea, a safer route can cost time, fuel, confidence, and pride. To change course literally means to steer a ship or plane in a different direction. In daily English, it also means to change a plan before the plan hurts you. The earlier you change course, the less dramatic it looks. In a meeting, you can say, "We still have time to change course." That sounds calmer than, "This is a disaster." It warns people without making them defensive. One key idea in the El Faro investigation is lag. Some weather information on board was not as current as other information. A lag can turn a smart-looking decision into a dangerous one. On a ship, the bridge is where navigation decisions happen. It is not a bridge over water. It is the command space where instruments, charts, and human judgment meet. To speak up means to say something when silence would be easier. It can mean raising your voice, but usually it means becoming clear. In safety culture, speaking up is not rude. It is part of the job. A junior officer might not say, "Captain, you are wrong," but they can say, "I am concerned about our track." That sentence is respectful, and it is much harder to ignore. Concerned is a powerful word because it is serious without being emotional. I am concerned about our track. That is the sound of someone trying to protect the team. Many learners soften every warning with maybe. Maybe we should change course. That can sound like a casual preference, not a safety warning. As the weather got worse, the language changed too. People stop saying, "We are monitoring the situation." They start saying, "We are taking on water." Take on water is one of those phrases that sounds harmless until you know it. A ship taking on water is in trouble. The phrase is calm, but the situation is not. Disaster English is often quiet. Taking on water, losing propulsion, listing to one side. The words do not scream, and that is exactly why they hit hard. Propulsion is the force that moves a ship forward. If a vessel loses propulsion, it may still float, but it cannot properly fight the sea. In heavy weather, that can change everything. An engine room is not dramatic in the movie trailer way, but when the engine fails, the whole story changes. The ship can no longer choose its position with confidence. Here is a false friend for learners. List is not only a shopping list. A ship can list, which means it leans to one side. Context saves you here. If someone says the vessel had a list, nobody is talking about paper. They mean the ship was leaning, and balance was becoming a problem. A cascade of failures means one problem triggers another, then another. It is one of the most important phrases in disaster reporting. Rarely does everything fail at once. Things fail in sequence. A delayed forecast, a risky route, flooding, a list, lost propulsion. Each piece matters, but the tragedy lives in how the pieces connect. Cumulative means building up over time. You can have cumulative stress, cumulative risk, or cumulative damage. It is a grown-up word for problems that do not arrive alone. When a ship goes missing, the next phrase is search and rescue. It sounds procedural, but it is full of emotion. Every hour changes what rescuers can hope to find. A distress call is not a complaint. It is an emergency message asking for help. In maritime English, it carries weight immediately. To muster the crew means to gather everyone for instructions or emergency action. It is an old word that still feels official. In a crisis, mustering late can cost precious time. We should pause here. 33 people were lost on El Faro. So when we learn these phrases, we are not turning them into decorations. In Old Maritime English, hands can mean crew members. If a ship is lost with all hands, everyone on board is lost. It is short, formal, and devastating. The phrase with all hands should be used carefully. It is not a colorful idiom for everyday stress. It belongs to real loss. Now we can return to the Bermuda Triangle myth. The myth is attractive because it gives chaos a shape. Draw a triangle and suddenly the ocean looks like a suspect. Vanish without a trace is more dramatic than go missing. It suggests no wreckage, no signal, no explanation. That is why storytellers love it. But be careful. No trace does not mean no cause. It may only mean the ocean is huge, deep, fast-moving, and hard to search. Famous triangle stories often include older cases, like Flight 19 or the USS Cyclops. Those stories are tragic and complicated, but grouping them under one spooky label can hide the ordinary causes investigators look for. A myth is not always a simple lie. It is a story people repeat because it explains feelings. The Bermuda Triangle myth explains fear of the sea better than it explains the sea. A frame is the way a story is presented. If you frame El Faro as a triangle mystery, you listen for curses. If you frame it as a safety failure, you listen for decisions. A myth can contain a grain of truth. The triangle is a busy part of the Atlantic. Storms, currents, shallow water, and human error can all matter there. The United States Ocean Agency says there is no evidence that mysterious disappearances happen there more often than in other large, busy ocean areas. That sentence kills the monster, but it does not make the ocean safe. Fallibility means the built-in human ability to be wrong. We forget, trust the wrong screen, delay a hard call, or hope the forecast will bend toward our plan. That is not supernatural, but it is dangerous. Nature plus human fallibility is a useful pattern. It works for storms, fires, financial crashes, and bad software launches. It says the world is hard and people are imperfect. Allegedly means someone claims it happened, but you are not presenting it as proven fact. Use it when you need distance. The ship allegedly vanished because of a curse sounds very different from the ship sank in a hurricane. Reportedly means according to reports. It is useful, but it still reminds listeners that your knowledge comes through another source. Good storytellers tell you how they know what they know. Here is the quick ladder. Apparently means it seems true from what we can see. Reportedly means a report says it, and allegedly means someone claims it, often with legal or skeptical distance. El Faro's voyage data recorder was later recovered from deep water. People often call it a black box, even though ships are not airplanes. It helped investigators piece together the final hours. To piece together means to build a full picture from fragments. Investigators piece together timelines from audio, data, wreckage, weather records, and decisions. It is patient language for patient work. This is why disaster investigations can feel slow. The public wants one clean answer. The evidence usually gives a chain. Not one thing is a very useful phrase. Why did the project fail? Not one thing. Why did the ship sink? Not one thing. If you want to tell this story in English, start with the least dramatic true sentence. El Faro was on a regular run when it sailed into the path of Hurricane Joaquin. Then add the chain carefully. To ride out the storm means to endure a storm until it passes. In business English, it can mean surviving a difficult period. But after a real maritime tragedy, do not use it too casually. You can say a company rode out the storm after a rough year. You should not say families rode out the storm after losing loved ones. Good English is not only correct, it is humane. Seaworthy means fit for sea travel. It does not mean impossible to sink. It means the vessel is suitable for the conditions it is expected to face. This is a bigger language lesson. Safe does not always mean risk-free. Approved does not mean wise, and routine does not mean harmless. Margin for error means how much room you have before a mistake becomes serious. A calm day gives you more margin. A major hurricane gives you almost none. In a workplace, you can ask, what is our margin for error? That is a smart question. It forces people to think about failure before failure arrives. In the El Faro story, the margin kept shrinking. The storm strengthened, the route mattered more, and every delayed update carried more weight. When margin disappears, confidence becomes dangerous. Comfortable information is the information you already understand. Current information is the information that matches reality now. In a crisis, current beats comfortable. Try this line in your own English. I know the old plan is comfortable, but the current information says we should change course. That sentence is calm, direct, and hard to dismiss. Change course is the phrase I want you to keep. It is literal enough for the sea and flexible enough for life. It turns fear into action. Today, you heard go missing, cast off, latest information, in the path of, speak up, take on water, lose propulsion, all hands, allegedly, reportedly, piece together, and margin for error. That is a lot of English. But because it lived inside one story, it should feel less like a list. Now let's slow the timeline down and listen to the pattern. Disasters often begin with ordinary words: schedule, route, routine, forecast, update, and one sentence everyone hates to say, maybe we should not go. A regular run is a repeated trip, route, or service. A ferry has a regular run. A delivery truck has a regular run, and El Faro had a regular run. The phrase makes danger feel less likely, even when danger is moving toward you. Routine is comforting because it saves mental energy. You do not question every step when you have done the trip before. But that comfort can make a changing situation feel smaller than it really is. Routine means normal because it happens again and again. It does not mean safe. That distinction matters in English, and it matters in life. This is a sentence you can use far beyond ships. Routine can hide risk. It explains why teams miss obvious dangers after doing the same job too many times. English speakers talk about a weather window. It means a limited period when conditions may allow safe travel, rescue, repair, or departure. A window can open, close, narrow, or disappear. The word window is useful because it carries urgency. We have a small weather window sounds very different from we have plenty of time. It says the chance is real but temporary. A forecast is not a promise. It is the best estimate available at a given moment. When the atmosphere changes quickly, a forecast has to be treated like a living document. An advisory is an official warning or update. Weather agencies issue advisories when conditions matter to public safety. In disaster stories, watch for the moment when an advisory changes the meaning of the route. Out of date means too old to rely on. It might have been accurate earlier, but earlier can be useless when a hurricane has already strengthened. A map can look authoritative even when the data behind it is old. That is why the phrase current version matters. In a crisis, the wrong version of a map can feel more dangerous than no map at all. You can use this at work too. Are we looking at the current version? That one question can save a team from arguing over information that no longer describes reality. To make the call means to make the decision. It is often used when the decision is hard and someone must take responsibility. A captain, manager, doctor, coach, or parent can all make the call. Leadership is not pretending uncertainty does not exist. Leadership is taking in uncomfortable information before making the call. The stronger the hierarchy, the more important speaking up becomes. Rank can silence truth because lower-ranking people may protect themselves by sounding gentle. They may hint instead of warn. In a crisis, hints are too weak. The chain of command is the formal line of authority. It helps teams move quickly, but it can also make disagreement feel risky. A useful sentence is, "I recommend we change course now." Recommend is respectful, but it is also clear. It gives the decision maker something concrete to accept or reject. Permission to challenge means the team is allowed to question a decision when safety is at stake. Good teams build that permission before the emergency. In the emergency, it may be too late to invent courage. Once contact is lost, language changes again. People talk about radio silence, last known position, debris fields, and search grids. These phrases sound technical because hope needs structure. Mayday is the international voice distress signal for grave and immediate danger. Do not use it casually in real communication. In everyday speech, people sometimes joke with it, but in safety contexts, it is serious. Last known position means the last place where a person, ship, or aircraft was reliably located. It is not the final truth. It is the best starting point. Ocean current is another tricky word. Current can mean happening now or moving water. In this story, both meanings matter. A strong current can move debris away from the last known position. Current data can move a decision away from an old plan. English loves words that carry two useful meanings. To sweep something away means to carry it off with force. Waves can sweep cargo away. A sudden crisis can also sweep away a team's confidence. Search and rescue teams do not simply draw a circle and look inside it. They consider wind, current, drift, visibility, and time. The longer the delay, the more the search area can grow. No survivors found is a hard phrase. It is factual, but it lands heavily. When you say it, lower the drama and let the words carry the weight. Families deserve answers, but answers are not the same as comfort. An investigation cannot bring people back. What it can do is make the next voyage less likely to repeat the same chain. That sentence is useful when talking about any serious investigation. Answers are not comfort. They are responsibility in a form we can study. Probable cause means the likely cause identified by investigators. It does not mean a simple villain. In professional reports, it is careful language. The NTSB does not write accident reports to create courtroom blame. It investigates to understand what happened and recommend safety improvements. That difference changes the tone of the whole story. A contributing factor is something that helped produce the result. It may not be the main cause, but without it, the outcome might have been different. In a meeting, this phrase is extremely useful. Instead of asking, "Who failed?" ask, "What were the contributing factors?" That question makes learning more likely than self-defense. Lessons learned means what we understand after an event. Be careful, because the phrase can sound too neat after loss. Use it with respect, especially when the lesson was paid for by other people. Survival craft is a formal phrase for lifeboats, life rafts, and related emergency equipment. The key question is not only whether equipment exists, it is whether the equipment fits the conditions people may actually face. Fit for purpose means suitable for the job it is supposed to do. A tool can be approved but not fit for a specific crisis. That distinction is uncomfortable and important. Let's turn the story into useful spoken English. First, I need the current forecast. Second, I recommend we change course now. That sentence is respectful, specific, and urgent. It does not attack anyone's intelligence. It focuses on the action that can still reduce risk. This second sentence is for the moment when people are too relaxed. I am concerned about the margin for error. It says the plan might work, but there is not enough room for surprise. In hindsight means after seeing what happened. In hindsight, the danger looks obvious. But good analysis remembers that people inside the moment had pressure, hierarchy, habits, and incomplete information. Hindsight can make us arrogant. We look at the final result and pretend we would have chosen perfectly. A better listener asks what signals were available at the time. Hindsight is not wisdom. Wisdom is building systems that help people notice risk before the outcome proves them right. That is why language like speak up matters. The Bermuda Triangle hook pulls us in because mystery is magnetic. The El Faro story keeps us there because it is human. The best English for it is clear, careful, and a little quieter than the myth. To take something seriously means to treat it as important. Take the forecast seriously. Take the junior officer seriously. Take the margin for error seriously before the ocean forces the lesson. So the episode is not really about a cursed triangle. It is about how ordinary language marks the steps of risk. A ship casts off, follows a route, enters the path of a storm, takes on water, loses propulsion, and then investigators piece together why. When you hear a disaster story in English, catch the verbs first. Go missing, change course, speak up, take on water, lose propulsion, piece together. Verbs are the map of the story. Before we close, let's do a practical listening drill. Imagine this is not a ship, but a team preparing a launch while the market changes fast. The language still works. We are out of margin means there is no useful room left for mistakes. It is stronger than we should be careful. It says the plan may still look alive, but the buffer is gone. Too close for comfort means something is uncomfortably near. A storm track can be too close for comfort. A deadline, budget limit, or security risk can also be too close for comfort. This phrase is useful because it does not sound hysterical. It sounds observant. The new forecast puts us too close for comfort is a sentence people can hear without feeling attacked. A contingency is a plan for something that might go wrong. A contingency route is a backup route. A contingency plan is what you build before pride tells you everything will be fine. To err on the side of caution means to choose the safer option when you are unsure. It does not mean panic. It means uncertainty is part of the decision. In a risk meeting, say given the current information, I would err on the side of caution. That sentence is measured. It lets you recommend safety without sounding dramatic. Caution is not panic. Panic ignores information. Caution respects information, especially when the information is changing. A red flag is a warning sign. Outdated data is a red flag. A leader ignoring concerns is a red flag, and a shrinking margin for error is a very red flag. Here is the whole risk sentence. The latest forecast puts us too close for comfort, and I am concerned that we are out of margin. I recommend we change course and err on the side of caution. That line is the practical heart of the episode. I recommend we change course. It is simple, but in the right moment, simple language can be brave. Brave English is not always loud English. Sometimes it is a calm sentence said before the room is ready to hear it. That is the language I want you to practice. To sound the alarm means to warn people that something may be wrong. It can be literal, like an emergency alarm on a ship. It can also be figurative, like an analyst sounding the alarm about outdated data. Sounding the alarm does not mean you are panicking. It means you see enough risk to alert the group. The earlier you sound the alarm, the more options people still have. Complacency is the quiet confidence that nothing bad will happen because nothing bad happened last time. It is not stupidity. It is comfort that has stopped asking questions. Complacency is quiet because it sounds like normal planning. It says, this is how we always do it. It says, we have been fine before. A backup plan is not an insult to the main plan. It is respect for uncertainty. When conditions change, a backup plan can become the most important plan in the room. Notice how these phrases focus on risk, not ego. We are out of margin. This is too close for comfort. I recommend a backup plan. Each line gives people a way to move without first admitting they were foolish. That is the final communication lesson. If you only prove someone wrong, they may freeze. If you give them a way to move, they may change course in time. So do not memorize these as isolated vocabulary. Hear the action sequence. Notice the red flag, sound the alarm, ask for current information, protect the margin for error, and change course while change is still possible. The next time a story sounds mysterious, listen for the verbs: went missing, took on water, lost propulsion, changed course too late. The language usually tells you where the real danger was.